Outside. The building holds 6. If everybody goes in, we will see a lot of them. I think we need to. There you go. Don't ask me. I don't want to
take your time, Bob.
Good meeting to order. Public comment. Anybody wishing to desire the board before closed session? We'll wait till after, okay. Announcement of items to be discussed in closed session, Mr. Egan.
Mr. Chairman, the board will be meeting in closed session for conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to subdivision D1 of Government Code Section 54956.9, M. Pedersen versus Nielsen, Lassen Works, and Lassen County Board of Supervisors, Lassen Superior Court case number 59089, and for a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to subdivision D1 of section 54956.9, Patterson versus County of Lassen, Workers' Comp Appeals Board, case number ADJ101855489. D. Watson versus County of Lassen, Workers' Compensation Appeals Board, case number ADJ 9853694. W. Kelly versus County of Lassen, Workers' Compensation Appeals Board, case number ADJ 1000855. T. Anderson versus County of Lassen, Workers' Compensation Appeals Board, case number ADJ 9810963.
Good. With that, we will go into closed session.
Oh. Yes, this is a reminder.
Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, guide us today through our meeting that we make profound judgment in all issues before us. Grant us the foresight to know their outcomes so that no one will suffer from our decisions. Amen. Chairman Ms. Olbrich, the Deputy Clerk, for election of Chairman and Vice Chairman.
Call for nominations for the 2016 Chairman of the Board of Supervisors.
I nominate Jim Chapman.
Your second.
Second.
Susan's doing it now.
Oh, you're doing fine.
No, but I'm not supposed to.
Okay.
You are.
We call for a vote. We do it like call for a vote.
Yeah, you're the chair. So.
No, what not? Okay.
Call roll.
Okay. Supervisor Chapman.
Aye.
Supervisor Alba.
Aye.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond.
Aye.
Supervisor Kyle.
Aye.
Okay, call for nominations for Vice Chairman of the Board for 2016.
I nominate Aaron Elbaugh.
I'll second
Supervisor Chapman.
Aye.
Supervisor Alba.
Aye.
Supervisor Hamkill.
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond.
Aye.
Supervisor Kyle.
Aye.
I know she kind of hesitated there, Aaron.
Order, Jim. All right.
I'd like to thank Bob for the job he did.
Good, bad, or ugly, huh?
That was good.
However, it worked out.
It was good.
Yeah, I would like to also start off by thanking Bob for your leadership this past year. You know, these are tough times, and it's not an easy job, and I appreciate the humor that you brought to the meeting from time to time.
Sometimes bad, huh?
Yeah, and you and I enjoy our last year on the board.
This will be my best year out of the 18.
Do you think so? Yeah, I think 2016 is going to be a good year.
I don't
too.
care what politics say.
Madam Clerk?
So anyway, with that,
Well, thank you, Jim, for your...
I want to thank the board, first of all, for the opportunity to serve in this role for my last year, and I think it's an exciting time. I think we've got some new leadership that's coming to the forefront in the county, and so this is that transition. We have a lot of things to get done. I think the future generation of services of county, by the county to the people, will be really kind of brought to a forefront and brought hopefully to a conclusion during this year so that we can move on to the county. You know, as the chairman, I'll be striving to respect the rule of law and the rights of each of everyone to fair participation in our proceedings. I know at times I may fail in that respect, and I count on the board to hold me accountable, and I hope you invite you to correct any errors that I might make in my service to pleasure of this board. So that's first and foremost. I also want to remind the board and the county staff and the visitors in the audience to become familiar with the board's rules of procedure. Resolution 15051 was updated last September. I want to thank County Council for the work he put in to refine that to make sure that we're in compliance with the Brown Act and all the other laws that are in place in the state relating to our ability to conduct business. The rules of procedure provides for appropriate public comment throughout the agenda. It's not just one time, but it's throughout the agenda. And visitors in the audience will be invited at the appropriate times to offer their comments on each agenda item prior to action by the board. The meetings of the board will not be conducted in a town hall format. Article 11, Section 1B of the California Constitution states clearly, the legislature shall provide for county powers, an elected sheriff, an elected district attorney, an elected assessor, and an elected governing board in each county. County government is a creation of the state. It's not in the U.S. Constitution, but it is in the California Constitution. And this board, by state law, and as the other 57 counties in the state, have a board of supervisors. And so we are the elected governing body as defined by the Constitution. The meetings of the board are meetings of the elected representatives to the board. Visitors and staff are guests to the boardroom and to observe the proceedings of the board and to offer input when appropriate. The general public are not members of the board. And I think that's something that we have to make that distinction from time to time, because it's easy for everybody just to throw it open, but we do have the responsibility of maintaining some order and discipline along those lines. I would observe that if there are members of the audience who desire to be more involved in the discussions, they should consider filing for a seat on the board. And we have election cycles, and we're going into one this year, so if you don't like the way business is conducted, that's your opportunity as a citizen. I was going to try to get a copy of the nomination papers from the clerk's office yesterday, but I didn't have an opportunity to do that. But starting February 15th, you can pull papers. You have until March 11th to turn them back in. Those are the rules. Bob and I won't be running, so in those two districts, you have an extra 5 days. That takes you to March 16th. But anyway, that's the process. And I would hope, Mr. Egan, if you could, maybe working with the clerk's office, if you could generate some copies of Resolution 1551, you can keep here in the boardroom, make them available to the general public. If any member of the board has misplaced their copy, I would encourage you to get a copy and review those, because that's the standards in which we'll be operating by. It calls for us to follow Robert's Rules of Procedure, but Robert's Rules is think there's a copy right here, yeah. You know, it's kind of a thick book with a lot of detail. It's really designed to handle big conventions and meetings. But if you go online, if I can find it, here it is. Judge Dave Rosenberg from Yolo County, who has been a legal scholar and so forth, but he's developed Rosenberg Rules of Order. And really what Rosenberg's Rules of Order is extracted from Robert's Rules of Order and designed to deal with small groups like we see in our boards and commissions. And it's becoming the new kind of go-to standard. So if you want to understand Robert's Rules of Order, this is kind of the cliff notes that you could use, and it really makes it easier to understand what the arrangement and the order of things are. So I know that a lot of bodies are using that more and more as their go-to guide. But Robert's Rules of Order is what is defined within our rules of procedure. With that, I just want to say I think 2016 is going to, I'm optimistic it's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great year for the board, and I'm looking forward to the challenges that we'll meet before we turn in our badge. So with that, does any other board member like to add to?
I just want to say, to thank the board for all you guys' support. You guys did very much support me in my job as chairman. I appreciate that. I want you to know I do. And that goes to staff too. Even Mr. Burns and Mr. Reagan.
Thanks a lot.
Susan's been terrific. Regina, Julie. The staff is terrific. We got terrific staff, and you know, I don't want to refer myself as a politician, but behind every politician is a good politician. There's a lot of good staff. It's not what you do, it's the staff you have supporting you, taking care of you. I'd like to thank the staff of Lassen County for their support through my year as chairman. So, thank you.
Yeah, well said, Bob. I think all of us can appreciate the significance. And even though there may be disagreements from time to time, I think there is a great appreciation and respect for the support staff and those that work for the county out in the trenches day in and day out that don't get recognized and maybe feel underappreciated, but they are appreciated. And I think one last thing I think we should also extend is each of us have a spouse, and they have to contend with, well, they don't run for the job, they don't ask for the job or the attention, but oftentimes they get caught in the crossfire.
And my wife and I throughout that day, she's still waiting for a phone call.
Yeah, it doesn't help when you give her number out of open session.
It was busy.
She had not received one phone call from that station.
It was busy.
All I can say, I guarantee you, I won't give you my wife's phone number because I can tell you right now she doesn't care. So, anyway, with that, let's move on with our agenda. Appreciate the time we spent. Announcement of items discussed in closed session. Mr. Egan.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the board met for a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to D1 of Government Code Section 54956.9, Pedersen versus Nielsen, Lassen Works, Lassen County Board of Supervisors, Lassen Superior Court Case number 59089. There was no reportable action. The board also met with legal counsel for existing litigation pursuant to D1 of Government Code Section 54956.9, Patterson versus County of Lassen, Workers' Comp Appeals Board Case number 80J101855489, D. Watson versus County of Lassen Workers' Comp Appeals Board Case number 80J9853694, W. Kelly versus County of Lassen Workers' Comp Appeals Board Case number 80J1000855, T. Anderson versus County of Lassen Workers' Comp Appeals Board Case number 80J9810963, and there was no reportable action.
With that, we'll move on to item number 2, the agenda approval, additions and/or deletions. What is the pleasure of the board? Ms. Egan, do you have?
I have no changes.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Hemphill, second by Supervisor Pyle. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience would like to make a comment? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion is unanimous. Public comments. This is an opportunity for those who want to address the board on any item that's not on the agenda. There are speaker cards, but that's not required. So do we have anyone who would wish to address the board under public comment? Yes, Mrs. Spencer.
Two things. Maybe that I look back at the January meeting of last year, and so this may be setting a precedent, this meeting, that 86% of your agenda has been placed in the consent calendar. And also, there are 2 reports County Help's interested in that I think all of you were here when they were approved. One is the Amity Airport use plan. Maybe you could get an update on that. And a reminder that we would like to know about the $132,000 contract for the modernization of the courthouse.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Spencer. Is anyone else who would like to speak under public comment? Hearing none, then we'll move on to unagendized board reports. And we'll start with you, Mr. Pyle.
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Almo.
Yes, thank you, Bob, for your leadership this last year, and look forward to your leadership this year. Wish everyone a happy New Year this year. One thing I'd like to see, I was glad to see Dawn here today with the Fish and Game Commission, because our local game warden up there in the Big Valley area, he resigned here this last month. I just found out about this the other day, but if we can work together with you guys to get a letter written to the department down in Sacramento to get that position refilled. I know up in the north part of the state there's a lot of vacancies, like the one up in Big Valley. I know this has been vacant for 2 years, and I'd like to see that hole in that void filled if we can. So like a letter of encouragement, I think would be good to the state.
Okay, thank you.
And then also, we had a transportation meeting yesterday, Jim, Jeff, and I went to. Just a real brief, probably the biggest one that might affect most everybody is the Levitt Lake route. We decided to discontinue that, but they can still use the East County route to do that. And I don't know, I guess that was about probably the biggest one that might affect most everybody. And that's all I have.
Mr. Rizzo?
February 9th, we're going to have a town hall meeting in Janesville. We'll do the fire hall. And I was at the transportation commission meeting yesterday, and I'll be interested in how that thing turns out. That's about it. Other than I went to see,
I was going to say, what about your big?
I went to see Donald, or future President Donald Trump, maybe, I don't know. But it was quite the experience. It was, we got there and we lucked out. We got to be one of the first ones in the building.
You must have got there about 7 o'clock.
Well, we got there at 10:30, and they broke the line where we were standing and took us to the other door. We got to go in early, and it was a really neat experience. It was quite the cross-section of people there.
Yeah, even I went. I attended it, and it was, me and the wife decided, we're not busy today, let's go, and we've never been to it.
We were on the fence anyway with him and Hillary, right?
I don't think that was too good. Yeah, we got there. We got there at 1 o'clock, and we were in the back by the news meeting, by the cameras. Well, he should beat them up.
Yeah.
Anyhow, whatever.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any particular topics that your town hall meeting?
We're going to talk about neighborhood watch. We're starting the neighborhood watch out in the Janesville area. And we'll probably follow up, have another one next month in Melford and then in Jonesville area.
Good. Mr. Hammond?
Yeah, I'm glad to see Dean was here because I had an incident in my store, and the officer who responded to it, Jason Sullivan, Deputy Sullivan, did a fantastic job. He took a volatile situation, he handled it great, Dean. Congrats to him and you for bringing him up that way, because it could have got ugly real quick. But I want to thank him and you for the effort for that night.
Thank you. Okay, and to finish up the board reports, I just would want to say also on the neighborhood watch, we've been working actively with our Depot 6 group here in town. I know there are a couple other groups already established up at Lake Forest and Eagle Lake. I heard Dean on the radio the other morning. I think his comment is well put in the sense that we have to be proactive as citizens, and I think organizing the neighborhoods and basically keeping an eye on each other's back, I think is going to be really important in these times, particularly with the new state laws that have come into effect that have really changed the dynamics out on the street. You could triple the size of our law enforcement, and you're still going to have issues in that area. So I think it really does require vigilance on the part of our neighborhood. So I think that is a good one, and hopefully it'll be as successful in the Janesville area as the other areas of the county. And I know that Dean has talked about maybe possibly developing a resource officer who could be focused to work throughout the county with all the various groups and provide some coordination and so forth. I did get the check. I appreciate, Aaron, your support for the contribution towards the neighborhood watch group here in town for the signs and stuff. I got that check, and they'll be meeting here shortly, and they're going to be spending those funds to obtain the signs and everything. So it's a team effort like that, and I appreciate the work. We also were at the Transportation Commission in addition to the report that Aaron gave. I think one of the biggest things we need to report, we're going to be meeting on a monthly basis as a commission. Aaron has been selected as the new chair of the commission for the next few months, and we've got the organizational structure and conducting business as the commission. Unfortunately, dating back to the early 70s, there's no legal document in place. It's just basically, it was an informal arrangement that has had its own life and legs for all these years, so we're going to be trying to define that relationship as it relates to the county and how those services are going to be provided. And it's going to be kind of a bumpier road, I think, for a couple of months, but I think we're headed in the right direction there, so that's going to be an important task. I know Aaron will be leading the commission to accomplish. Last night I also attended the Behavioral Health Board meeting, and I appreciate the work that Mel and her staff does. We have an excellent director working there. Maybe at some point here in the next few weeks it might be good if we could get the director of the department maybe come and do a presentation even at the board to just kind of give us an update. May Sherman is in the audience also, is on that board. I invite anybody who's interested in that issue to consider. We have several open seats that are available, but it's an exciting group. We've got some good information dealing with the marijuana issue coming up that was discussed in terms of some research that's come out of the Public Health Department that is going to be worth considering. So with that, we'll conclude our board reports. And before we move on to the next agenda item, Mrs. Spencer, you have your hand up.
Yes, this agenda item is unagendized reports by board members. Is Mr. Hempel saying that he went to this political rally as a supervisor? Because it was very inappropriate for your comment under this agenda item. Also, because in the last 12 months, you don't give reports here. You always pass. So maybe you should be reminded that this is the county's business and not your political platform.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Spencer. We'll move on to item, it's at 10:45 yet, so we'll move on to item F1, vacancies on the Lassen County Fish and Game Commission. And we have request for consideration of appointment of Mr. Alfonso. So, Don, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Don Armentrout, Lassen County Fish and Game Commission. George Alfonso came to me. I helped him fill out the form, and then I screwed up the form for him, and I wrote on the top. I was thinking that District 1 is what we were nominating for, and I wrote District 2. I'm informed that's part of getting old. But George Alfonso is our nominee.
Yeah, he lives in District 4.
I talked about that with
Lakewood, he says his home address is Lakewood Way. That's up in Cherry there, so that would be District.
Chairman Workman and I talked about that, and we thought that Supervisor Albaugh can correct us, but we thought that he might want to find someone in Big Valley to attend to represent that part of his district. And because George does not have to live in the district that he is nominated, that perhaps District 1 would be good unless Supervisor Albaugh wants him to represent 4.
Well, we have all the alternate positions are open and one vacancy in District 4, so.
You know, I mean, I've tried to get people to go on. I've had some people that did it, but it's just the driver and commute, and it's very hard to find somebody. And George, he works up there. I mean, you know, I've had him on my place several times doing work, and he works up there, so he knows the area. And if he lives in District 1, I would be just as happy to have him in District 1, and that way there I have somebody. Or if he lives in District 4, I need District 4.
Okay. Well, that is your folks' decision, but we do have 2 empty regular positions.
Yeah.
Knowing George, I mean, he's a great guy to be on that board.
Yeah,
He's
he would be
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah, perfect. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care what district you put him in, just get him on.
Yeah,
It's especially timely because the illegally done Wildlife Commission, Resources Commission at the state level has appointed another illegal subcommittee to work on a plan for predator management and basically to protect the poor coyote. So George is perfect for that.
Yeah, I think George is well suited, not only from that perspective, but I think his job gives him the foundation that no matter where you're at in the county, he has a pretty good handle on it. So I think he's kind of unique in that respect and could bring a lot to the commission. So the chair has a motion from Mr. Albaugh to appoint him to vacancy in District 4, seconded by Mr. Pyle. Any further discussion by the board? Do we have any comments from the public? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It was unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. That brings us to the information and consent calendar. We have several items on the calendar today. Does any board member have an item they wish to pull off for separate discussion?
Pull off number 2 and 12.
Okay. Karen is 2 and 12, Bob is 6. Okay. Anyone else on board? Okay. If not, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar unless the items have been requested for discussion. We have a motion by Mr. Albaugh, seconded by Mr. Pyle. Before we vote, do we have any comments from the public on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is unanimous. We'll take up item number G2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions I had is, I know we've been going through this with the computers and every year kind of on an annual basis. And I'm just curious on where we're at as far as how many more computers still need to be replaced, or is it just going to be an ongoing perpetual deal that we have?
This is not, Robert Talley, this is an ongoing
Mr.
cycle.
Talley, could you come to the podium, please?
Thank you. Robert Talley, Lassen County Office Head, I'm a contract IT worker for you guys. We have a 4-year replacement cycle, so every year we replace 1/4 of the PCs in the county for the employees so that we don't get into a cycle of having an employee with an old computer that doesn't meet the standards or the specs for the job that they're doing. So this is a continuous cycle, but it evens out our budgeting so that we're not replacing them needlessly, but we're also not leaving computers out there that aren't being replaced on a timely basis. It also helps with the workload for IT, so we don't get all of them needing to be replaced in 1 year or a large quantity.
Okay.
Robert, I have a question. When you replace a PC, you're getting all the new software with that PC, so you're not having to buy upgrades for old PCs?
We don't buy new software for it. We have an agreement with Microsoft for some of our software licensing, and then depending on the department that the PC goes into, they purchase and maintain their software that they need. Every computer that is within the county has different needs for what software they use. So there is no, the things that are commonplace, like the Microsoft Office suite, your operating system, we have a Microsoft agreement for that. The other things that are really more dependent on the department and even the position within the department. There's some one-offs there that are purchased.
Mr. Tully, can you tell us where we are in the cycle, how many years we've been replacing it?
This will be our 4th year, so at the end of this cycle, we will have all of the same style and make and model of computers. So we'll finally replace the last of the ones that have been out there for quite a long time.
And in theory, the oldest computer will be operating on will be 4 years old.
Yes. Yeah. And this includes a couple of what we call break-fix computers. We take a look at our list of computers that are out there, and we include 3 or 4 break-fix. So if one goes down, we have one to put immediately in place while we get that one warranty. And that's the other part of this, is we get a warranty for these during that 4 years, so that if something happens, we've got the manufacturer to back it up. We get tech support online and via phone, and the parts are shipped out next day, so we don't have any problems with the PCs trying to get parts for them or anything like that.
At the end of this 4 years, are we going to start the cycle again? Is that kind of
The plan is to continually replace 25% of them each year.
So the oldest computer out there at any given time is basically 3 years old because you're in the process of replacing it during the 4th year.
It'll be 4 years, because we'll buy the 4th year PCs, and it takes a little bit of time to replace them. So they will get 4 years use out of them, maybe a little bit more, depending on where we are.
Once you take a computer off, basically offline, and replace it with a new one, what happens to the old computer? Do we retain some of those for like emergency drop-ins if you've got one that goes down that you think, or do they just get surplus?
We typically have the break-fix ones for that, and we usually recycle them or give them to donate to other agencies. If there's something that it's a nicer computer that was purchased out of the cycle of these, because these are our standard. There are some departments that use like GIS or some special software that takes better specs. They'll buy their computers and they'll pay the difference between what we purchased these for. Those ones will typically leave in there a year or two more, or we'll reallocate those because they're a little bit better. But after 4 years, you start getting into a problem of the system really isn't capable of running the newer stuff that they're having to run. So that's really the tipping point. Most businesses run about 4 years on a PC. That's why the 4-year replacement cycle. And Dell will go through, or Lenovo, 5 years is about the max that they'll go on a warranty on the PCs, because they've done actuary charts to say this is how long we can do it and still, come out ahead on it.
So all the hardware that's purchased, is that done through CMAS?
CMAS or WISCA,
Okay.
state purchasing.
Okay, do we have any other questions from the board on the item? Do we have any questions from the audience?
I just think it makes sense to stay ahead on that technology game, because it
Well,
changes every day.
And the ability to talk to each other on a uniform basis helps. So, okay.